Hey again. So wanted to make a little another video about this here. Um they had a little Congress hearing yesterday. Pam Bondi did, the FBI director did, and it looks bad for them. It looks bad for them. It really just shows that they're doing everything in their power possible to just hide whatever they have and to just make it seem like that this is all a hoax, a conspiracy, just that it never was real. Honestly, it's not really far-fetched that Jeffrey Epstein was not real. He was an imaginary friend of Donald Trump's and of everybody else's. They might go with that play. They could take a play out of my script. I said that. You can take that play right there. At least give me credit for it, though. But I want to show some stuff that happened during it and why it looks bad. So just before we get into it, to kind of just give a little bit of brief introduction for it. Pam Bondi was seen lying under oath, or allegedly, quote unquote, lying under oath. The FBI never talked to any of the victims or any witnesses about Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, all that. They never spoken to any of the witnesses, and they still are refusing to do so. It's genuinely infuriating that in the Congress hearing where Pam Bondi was, the FBI director was, there was the victims literally sitting behind them, and a lady was asking for the victims, if they wanted to stand up and just basically raise their hand to see how many victims there were and whether or not they were being they were talked to by Pam Bondi or just by anybody at the FBI in general for their whole thing on it, who they were, who did it with them, who did it with Jeffrey Epstein, that is. And Pam Bondi refuses to look. She keeps her head down, facing forward at the congresswoman. She's doing everything, literally everything possible to just make it seem like that this isn't a big deal. She tries bringing up the Dow, bringing up other stuff to try and just move the heat off of Donald Trump, off of Jeffrey Epstein. They don't want it to be public. They're scared. They're shitting themselves. And they're willing to do whatever possibly can to just avoid it, whether it's bringing up something else, completely avoiding it in general, or even accusing one of the congressmen that I will show that she was lying under oath. She said, "Don't accuse me of lying under oath." And yet it shows she is. I just don't see how. It's genuinely infuriating that they're actually trying this ball play and they're trying this entire scheme of Jeffrey Epstein wasn't real, and the parties that he went, the parties that he held, the stuff that he did, those weren't real. They were fake. Even though back then he was arrested, I think it was in 2002 or something like that, where he was arrested, and they're going to try and play a whole script where, because Donald Trump came out to the Palm Beach officers, the chief himself called him and said, "Good thing you arrested Jeffrey Epstein. You have to start looking into Ghislaine Maxwell now." They're going to try and spin that narrative to where he's the good guy and that he shouldn't be punished because he's the one that talked about it and he's the one that basically snitched, when yet he still did it. He still did it no matter what. So you can't try and spin the narrative of that for the fact that he didn't, he's the one that ratted. You can't spin the narrative. I also just want to give a little shout out to CoffeeZilla, because I've been watching a lot of his stuff with the Epstein files. His channel is Vodzilla. If anything, I'll put it in the description. I'll put the video specifically because I honestly recommend that everybody should see it and everybody should watch it.
At the age of 14 and 16 years old, and they called to meet with the president and to meet with the FBI and to have people investigate their claims. Some of them have never testified before. If you are so interested in getting the public to submit any information, why have you not met with them? You said you haven't met with them. Have you met with them? I'll give you one more chance.
My job as the FBI director is to invite all
investigative leads. Is the answer yes or no to whether or not you met with these women who were abused and...
Any insinuation by you or any people on your side that I am not manhunting child traffickers, just look at the stats.
Patel,
and you talk
Mr.
about
Chairman,
cover-ups, man.
Mr. Chairman,
you
this
talk
is
about
my
So yeah, I just wanted to show that right there because that's one of them of like the many, because there is still so many. So like just like seeing that he like deflects and just dodges the entire question of has he ever actually talked, or has he ever had one person talk to these victims, and yet he deflects and dodges the question. He tries to bob and weave around it, anything but to answer the question. He even like raises his voice to try and just like I don't even know what, because you look dumb. Like, you just look like you're not trustworthy in this entire thing. I don't understand how he's the FBI director, because it makes honestly no sense at all for how you could possibly just like deflect the entire question, not choose to answer the question while you're under oath. By the way, you're under oath the entire time, and yet you just choose to not answer the question. Like, what? Mind-blowing to me. Absolutely mind-blowing to me.
Survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand. Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General Bondi,
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a
General,
specific question
Attorney General
that I
can
would
respond to your
like
question.
you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she doesn't like the
my
answer.
time.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't
a
she ask
question.
Merrick Garland this twice?
I am reclaiming my time, and when I reclaim my time, it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady has reclaimed her
I'm not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just
Chairman,
say
I'll
this.
direct it to
what
you.
So yeah, she just refuses to answer it entirely. Like, she just wants to fully just ignore the thought that there are actual victims behind her, and then ignore the fact that she has to like take charge. She's trying to blame the Congresswoman for not asking the question to the other people that were in the thing, but if she's asking you, the current Attorney General, who has to deal with this stuff because you're the current one, we can't give it to the past ones anymore because the past ones, why? Don't work anymore. So we have to give it to the current general who can currently do something about this. So they ask her, and yet she just refuses to answer the question. She just avoids it. It makes no sense for why. She just tries to brown nose Trump and only Trump. But it's disgusting. It's actually just revolting the way that she tries to dodge and reflect the questions back. She tries going to every single possible pivot point for why she just has to not answer this question. And it is ridiculous. It's it's vile even, for the fact that she's able to get away with this and they're just walking her through it the entire time. Not the Congress people, the people around her that are not forcing her to answer this question.
So, now that time for the country to get onto something else. Now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten
You are the
justice?
worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile
Well,
in
I'm
your
asking
face.
you about survivors.
You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth.
Yeah, I'm not smiling because I'm not telling the truth. Because, like, obviously, the known saying isn't, oh, you're smiling, so you're lying. That's at least what I grew up with. Deflects the question again by moving into something completely different for why she isn't smiling while asking a question about child pedophilia, child sex trafficking, and also child murder. It's just mind-boggling to me. Like, I always think it's better to laugh than to cry, but I don't understand how you can possibly think that this is okay to be laughing and joking at. It's not a laughing and joking matter. I don't understand it. I really don't. Like, if you're trying to be serious about it, and you're actually trying to get to the bottom of it, and you're being questioned about it, you're gonna deflect it for this woman is the worst reporter because she's never smiled at you. Donald Trump is not a good enough guy to deserve smiles at. And this has nothing to do with, like, political reasons. This just has stuff to do with him as a person, him as a human being. Nothing about him is smile worthy at all. At all.
They're both very good. Mr. President. The two Kevins, very good.
Mr. President, is Vice President Vance hosting a gathering this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
Is he working on what?
Is he hosting some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
I don't know. I could ask you that question.
Now, it's just, like, really weird how Howard Lutnick, by the way, who was also in the Epstein files, said he stopped talking to Epstein, I think, back in 2012, but then I think after that, it still shows he was talking to Jeffrey Epstein. So really goes to show how much of a truth teller he is there. He's not a fibber, as people would call him. Like, look at his big ear-to-ear grin. Jeffrey Epstein gets mentioned. Oh, man, the good times that he's had with him. Apparently, his wife and his children were all on the island. He recalled having dinner with them. Under oath, by the way, he said this and everything. But it's just so nice, man. Like, look at the way he gets a sick belly laugh out of it. He gets a nice big chuckle. Jeffrey Epstein gets mentioned. Look at him. He can't even contain it. It's just disgusting.
Ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a
I
crime.
believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of crime. I'm showing you. Here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation.
So yeah, just showing that there, Pam Bondi lying under oath, which, I mean, it's illegal. You can't do that. You can't lie under oath. It's illegal. But yet she's doing it, and I guarantee you nothing will happen. Why? Because she basically runs the law. She works with the people that run the law. So if the people that run the law aren't really trying or caring and just laughing their way through Jeffrey Epstein and his entire thing, it's just really showing that nothing's gonna happen. I said this before, and I've always, like, said it even when I talked with my friends about this. Jeffrey Epstein situation is going to go away. Nothing's gonna happen, and it is sick and twisted, the fact that nothing will happen to it. But yeah, that's basically it. Not really surprised at any of this kind of stuff. If anything, in fact, I think it's just going to keep on happening. I mean, we just had our general lie under oath, and our FBI director is deflecting questions about Has he talked to the victims despite the victims being behind him in that? I don't think it's just going to get worse from here, to be honest, and it's so fucking, like, just miserable to think that, but I don't think it's going to, I think it's just going to stay the way it is. Everything is just going to be left alone. It's just going to fall back into a conspiracy theory, and it's like Pizzagate. Pizzagate just fell back into a conspiracy theory when that started popping off, and it's going to be the same thing with this, except this one's just going to last longer.